Hello, I have returned and with a brand new series. We're doing book reviews today, folks. And for my very first book, I am reviewing a classic. I read this for the very first time, I think last week, and it was really good. So, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Oh, spoiler alert. By the way, I'm going to be just going through major plot points in this book, so this is, if you don't want a spoiler and you just want an analysis, you can kind of skip to this time right here. And that is when I will no longer be giving spoilers, so. Alrighty, so basically the book follows kind of an awakening of knowledge in this guy whose name is Guy. Montague is his last name. So I'm going to call him Montague because I don't feel like having to distinguish between just saying it's some guy and, you know, the guy. So anyway, he lives in what appears to be a utopian society in which everyone's happy and everyone's excited about everything. And side note, there's these things called seashell earbuds or something, and they look remarkably like AirPods, and I'm concerned about that because that's one thing from a dystopian book that is reflected in modern times. So think about that when you're trying to flex your AirPods. Personally, I have fake AirPods that, you know, they're pink and cool, but you know, whatever, not flexing or anything. Anyway, in this society, books aren't allowed. They're burnt by firefighters, which Montague is a firefighter. They start fires, they don't end fires. He meets his new neighbor, his name is Clarice. She starts challenging his thinking, making him think, because in his society they don't really think. That's just, you know, that's, you do whatever the government tells you and you watch TV, and that's about it. The book basically just goes on with Montague. He steals a book from someone's house, and the lady whose house he's about to burn decides to burn with the house. Montague is just trying to figure out his life, and he starts realizing that books aren't really that bad when he starts reading books. And also, side note, Clarice gets hit by a car, which also kind of makes him want to revolt against his government. So he meets up with this guy named Faber, who is an old college professor who gave Montague books to begin with. Which, oh, he has books. He just has hidden them, and he's like illegal holding books and stuff. So him and Faber come up with a plan to basically destroy their society in order to rebuild it better and for people to have books. Then they have their plan where Montague is gonna go and plant books in firefighters' houses so they have to be burnt, and then Faber's gonna go and meet with a friend with a printing press, and using the books that Montague stole, he's gonna like reprint them and distribute them to people so that they can read. So that's basically all of that. But then the problem is Montague gets kind of ticked off at his wife's friends and starts spouting angry poetry at them, and then he promptly gets himself like completely reported to the firefighters with whom he works. So his chief, whose name is Beatty, and there's a lot in the book about him, but I just kind of glaze over the fact that he exists. But basically, he's just a guy who's trying to confuse Montague and keep him back on the side of not reading. Reading's for, nope, don't do it. It's illegal. The firefighters go to Montague's house because his wife, we assume it's his wife, but I also think it could possibly be the friends, but it could, maybe all of them. Everyone just reported Montague. Side note, his wife kind of just sucks. I don't like her. She's annoying. She's kind of dumb, which I can't hold against her because she wasn't allowed to learn, but like she prefers to talk to her TV family, which is just like a TV show where you can program the characters to say your name, and I say family with quotation marks because that's how the book puts it. It says family because they're not a real family. But yeah, so they have to Montague has to burn down his own house, but he hid his books in the garden because they were originally behind a refrigerator, and before that they were in an air conditioning unit, but they were behind a refrigerator and he hid them in the garden. So he burns down his house, then Beatty, he makes Montague get ticked off at him, and then Montague burns him alive. That's definitely still illegal now, so don't do that, but it was also illegal then. So he killed someone, not cool. He gets attacked by this like metal dog thing that it kills by lethal injection, so he doesn't die, he just gets a really numb leg for a while. But yeah, so Montague's on the run now with a few of the books that he managed to salvage. Then he's on the run from the dog, and well, a new dog. He burned the previous dog. He got kind of on a pyromaniac spree and burned a bunch of stuff. And he goes and tells Faber, who is now on the run too. And then Montague goes and finds a bunch of people who like memorize books, and he memorizes the book of Ecclesiastes because he got a book which was the Bible, which that's a good one. I have a few. So he does that, and the way the book ends, which if you ignore the previous spoiler warning and you don't want to learn like how the actual end of the book goes, this is definitely skip like a while, like to this time, which is the same time as previous, but you know, you didn't listen to that one, so I'm gonna give it to you again. Anyway, the book ends with his hometown being blown up with everyone in it, including his wife, who left him in a cab and was in a hotel somewhere, probably talking to her family. How many times can I go family in this video? So yeah, he escapes with his book people, and his life goal is to memorize Ecclesiastes so he can teach it to the next generation. One common misconception that I realized after reading this book is a lot of people talk about it being censorship, like withholding information for the good of the people, but it is kind of about it, but not necessarily censorship, and more so like originality of thought is more what the book is about. Because basically the society is turning into everyone's thinking the same because no one has anything to like differ about, so every single person has the same media and no one disagrees about anything. Why people started burning books to begin with was because that people got offended by some books and other people got offended by other books, so the firefighters were like, you know what, let's just burn all of them. Can't be offended by something that's on fire. So that was basically how that started, and yeah, so burning books is not necessarily censorship, but more about like keeping people happy. And the fact that it's been taken off of library shelves because it might offend people is hilarious to me, because did like the people who wanted it off the shelves not read the book? Yeah, so the history of this book, I feel like I should say Ray Bradbury. He, I don't know why I'm flicking my hair so much. He feared that like a lot of non-thoughts, like things just kind of that feel like you're thinking, like learning trivia facts or listening to pop music and memorizing the lyrics, just like random pieces of information, just having it in your head or non-thoughts would like basically dumb down the next generation. So it'll be like prevent people from actually learning things, but it'll make you think that you're thinking, which is a line in the book actually. It'll just like their brain be going over stuff they already knew. I don't know, it was a pretty good book. A lot of my thoughts about it are like, I don't know, I liked it, it was really deep and thoughtful, but I have no room to criticize a classic book like Fahrenheit 451, but in my opinion there wasn't a lot of world building. Like you just have to hear secondhand from a character, which I guess is how it would normally be if you're like reading from an actual perspective. Oh, also a point I forgot to mention in the actual summary is that his wife swallows a bunch of sleeping pills at one point, and we're not entirely sure if it was a suicide attempt or like she just forgot that she was taking a bunch of pills, which is her explanation, but I guess it's one of those you get to decide kind of things, which was kind of a weird part of the book, but it starts Montague's like journey into self-identity kind of stuff. I thought it was an interesting book. I would rate this a 9 out of 10. I only took that one point away because you don't get to hear a lot about the world, and I would have really liked to know more about like the history, how it got there. All we really hear is a kind of a skewed history of firefighters, and that's about it. Also, this kind of book kind of relates to modern times, which should be a scary sentence to you. Because if I say that a book about a dystopian future relates to modern times, that means we've reached them, or we're about to reach them. But regardless, it kind of reminded me of the whole like Facebook and Twitter election censorship, which I said the book wasn't about censorship, but like it's a little bit about censorship. So basically what happened is that there was this New York Post, I think it was, article about Hunter Biden, and it was posted on Twitter and Facebook, and everyone got really angry about it. Not even gonna get into politics, because no. Twitter and Facebook both, well, Facebook didn't like share it to a lot of people, so it was still on Facebook, but it just like wasn't being recommended to a lot of people, or however that works. Sorry, that's my computer. And then Twitter took it a step further and like froze the New York Post's account, like Twitter account, and then also wouldn't let you share the tweet. so you couldn't do anything. And that kind of makes me think that these big social media companies aren't allowing people to think their own opinions. Like, they took it down because they're worried it might offend someone, or that people were going to get offended, which that should sound similar to my explanation as to why people started burning books in Fahrenheit 451, because it is the exact same. I don't know, that just kind of reminded me of modern times. Yeah, that's Fahrenheit 451. It was a really good book, really thought-provoking. I think I would definitely recommend that you read it. I'd recommend it to you if you want to like deep dive into a book and try to figure out what the meaning of it is. If you're looking for a purely entertainment book, this would not be what I would recommend to you, because while it is good, I was more reading because I was interested in what the idea was behind it and what I was trying to learn from it, less so much in the story. The next book I'm going to be reviewing will be Ready Player One, so lots of ones. But yeah, I just finished it the other day, so I'm going to start working on it next. So you can expect that at some point. I don't know when that's going to be uploaded, but it will be at some point. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time.